my ex is the devil, my ex is the devil. No, your ex is emotionally stunted and has communication issues. The real devil is Nestle.
Making up a song about Coraline. She's a peach, she's a doll, she's a pal of mine.
Wow. Crazy. You're crazy, girl.
I saw someone say this on TikTok before, but don't make yourself smaller for nobody. Don't settle for nothing. And I'm specifically talking to queer and trans people. I'm specifically talking to queer and trans people because correct your pronouns. Correct your pronouns. Live in your truth. Because I, for the longest time, accepted that people would not see me as non-binary, that people would not use they, them pronouns. So I settled and accepted that he, him was enough for me. I let the people around me and my mother misgender me by using he, him pronouns because I figured it would be easier for other people. And you know what my mom did when I was kicked out? She insisted that I was lying about my gender and repeatedly used she, her pronouns. At the end of the day, people who are going to respect your pronouns will respect your pronouns and people who aren't won't, regardless of what your pronouns are. So live in your truth. Correct your pronouns. You don't have to make yourself small for other people.
But I know what I'm doing, so I think that I can trust me. I wanna feel handsome, I wanna feel pretty. If you want me to dance, you can take me to the city.
Let's talk about police and prison abolition. As an anarchist and police and prison abolitionist, if there's one question I get asked the most, it's what do we do with the murderers and those who commit heinous acts? Oftentimes people misrepresent or misunderstand what it's meant by police and prison abolition, and these questions are the best examples of that. When communists talk about police and prison abolition, and by communists I mean both Marxists and anarchists, obviously it doesn't mean to just shut down prisons and let people run the streets freely. Well, I mean, in a sense it does, but there's a system. As communists, we want to focus on the main issues as to why crime happens. And statistics have shown that crime is indicative of poverty as the economic reasoning. But as communists, we don't just focus solely on the economic reasoning. We understand that there's a social reason, as in social constructs that hold people back. And oftentimes those social constructs have to do with disenfranchisement due to patriarchy, homophobia, racism, xenophobia, and the list goes on. And all of these things affect a person's economic situation. We call this socioeconomics. The actual definition of socioeconomics is the social science that studies how economic activity affects and is shaped by social processes. And so what this means is that a person's financial situation can be shaped by how society views them. And society's view of them can change due to the color of their skin, their perceived gender at birth, the gender they identify as, or even something as simple as what country they're from. And understanding these socioeconomic impacts is what helps us build systems that can help us abolish police and prisons. As communists, we believe in restorative and transformative justice. Transformative justice has to do with changing socioeconomic systems in order for socioeconomic class status to not affect people. In a nutshell, if crime is indicative of poverty, then us communists want to get rid of poverty in order to get rid of crime. And for the crime that still happens, we have restorative justice, which means to give restoration to the victims of whatever crime, by whichever means the victim deems necessary. Most studies show that victims of crimes just want answers and accountability. Being able to provide restorative justice gives them those answers and accountability, as well as teaching the perpetrator of the crime how to take responsibility. And transformative justice makes sure they don't commit the crime again by getting them what it is that they need in order to not commit the crime. I hope that makes sense, because if it doesn't...
Mother? And you shoot her down.
Whoa! Tink said it was a bird!
Tink said what? Well, she said you said to shoot it down. Tinkerbell. Tink! Come here. You're charged with high treason, Tink. Are you guilty or not guilty? Guilty? But don't you know you might have killed her? Tinkerbell, I hereby banish you forever.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I didn't think you were all that into girls.
Well, since we're on the subject, I didn't think you were all that into guys. funk. Gets me stupid, gets me drunk. I'll do anything that you want, anything that you want.
Have you ever wondered why so many people in America are homeless? It's not that we don't have enough houses. There's literally 33 empty properties for each homeless person in the US. It's not that we don't have enough money, because it would cost $20 billion to end homelessness, and that's less than Americans spend on gym memberships every year. And it's certainly not just that people are lazy and end up on the streets, because homelessness is usually more connected to things like being trans or queer or growing up in poverty. The reality is that we have the resources we need to end homelessness, and if the people in power wanted to, they would. But they don't, and so Gen Z is fed up and we are taking action on our own. You might recognize me from my main account, I'm Allie202, but this new account is going to be all about how Gen Z can and will end homelessness in the United States. And we're going to start with the story of the student homeless shelters that my friends and I have created throughout the state of California. Follow this account to learn about homelessness statistics, ways you can get involved in solutions, and how we can expand our network of student shelters across the country this year. Thanks for following. Stay safe.
You don't have to be perfect or exceptionally great. You don't even have to be good.
But I do! I have to be all those things at once, all of the time.
I saw that. I'm gonna tell the teacher. You would never, you're a pussy. Oh yeah, watch this. Bitch, stop. I was kidding. Yes? Can I go to the bathroom?
But she's so nice, but she's so nice, but she's so nice. Yeah, treat her like a bitch.
Cheerleading used to be a men's sport. Names like Allison, Ashley, and Lindsay used to just be for baby boys. Secretaries used to be guys, not girls. And high heels started out as something for elite men. What all of these things have in common is that they used to be for men until a few women got involved and all the men ran away. It's a concept called male flight, and it's fucking fascinating. People tend to be familiar with the term white flight when white people run away from a neighborhood when people of color start to move in. And it's similar for gender. Basically, the second an area of life becomes feminized, men just dip. Veterinarians used to be all men, but this has been changing rapidly. So a study of vet school applications found that for every 1% increase in the proportion of women in the student body, 1.7 fewer men applied. If you want a man not to apply to your school, all you have to do is have one more woman, and that will deter him more than $1,000 in extra tuition, because priorities. What's frustrating is that when these things become feminine, instead of gaining respect for the woman who can do them, we lose respect for the sport or the job. Follow for more in part 2.
So I keep seeing all these hashtag protect trans youth videos all over my timeline all the time because I love me some trans people and I love protecting trans youth. And I want to give you an opportunity to protect a trans young person. One of the young folks in my community, an indigenous trans young girl, just turned 18. This should be a cause of celebration. However, she was dependent on the foster care system for housing. And if you've ever either been through the foster care system or worked with the foster care system, you know that a lot of young people end up unhoused on their 18th birthday, sometimes even at midnight on their birthday. Knowing this deadline was coming up, she had secured housing with a family friend who is now currently unable to take her. She has a place to stay for the next couple nights, but it's going to be 2 months until some more of the permanent solutions are able to kick in for her. So right now she needs all the things. She needs food, she needs transportation money, she needs clothing, and she needs enough money to be able to stay at an Airbnb for 2 months and or a hotel room. If you got it, send some funds to this Cash App and or share this video. A GoFundMe is coming.
Okay, so this sound is for anyone who's LGBTQ. I want you to use this sound, put it over a photo or a video, doesn't matter what it is, so that you can meet other LGBTQ people here on TikTok. Ready, set, go.
Hey, what was your name before? Before what? You know, the before times. Before times, what is this, the Ice Age? You know, just before your name was what it is right now. What you mean before I killed that guy last week? That wasn't me. No, I meant to, like, what is this? Did Tony send you? I don't know who Tony is. I just wanted to know what your original name was. My original name, huh? Listen, I don't know whatever thinking you're thunking, but you better unthunk it real quick. You get me? I think there's been some kind of mistake. I just wanted to know what it says on like your birth certificate. My birth certificate. So you are with the feds. Okay. Tony! You really don't need to call anyone. I just wanted to know what your dead name was. What am my dead name? Why did you just say so? Ah! Back in the day before I was a whisper in the wind, when I used to get my hands dirty, when I used to be the last drop of blood on a clean tile floor, they used to call me the Skull Crusher. With the skull. Yeah. Would you like to find out why? No. Okay, get out of here. I'm gonna go pray.
Told me I was awful and that shit did not faze me. Tell me how I sucked again, my memory is hazy. You're my favorite rapper now, yeah, dude, I better be. Or you can fucking kiss my ass, human centipede.
You know the TikTok sound that says non-binary people don't owe you androgyny, however they do owe you a dance or a jig? Well, that is absolutely true. However, there is a caveat in that they will ask for your name in return, and once introductions have been made, they will offer you some food. This is where you need to tread softly because you have clearly tread into the non-binary realm, and once they have your name, they have your gender, and once you have eaten their food, your name is now Mars, and you're non-binary.
You guys know that song that floats around here on TikTok sometimes? There will come a soldier who carries a mighty sword. He will tear your city down. Olay, olay, O Lord. I really love that song, which is called Soldier Poet King, by the way, has been like sort of appropriated by like witch talk and fairy talk and stuff like that, because I don't feel like most people realize that song is about Jesus Christ. Like, literally, it's straight up about Jesus. Jesus is the soldier poet king in question. It's from a small Christian indie band called the Oh Hellos, which I have known about for years because I went to school in Asheville, but Christian school in Asheville. But most people probably don't know that, probably don't know anything about the band, probably don't know that's from an album called Dear Wormwood, which is a direct reference to a C.S. Lewis novel. Like, most of y'all who use that song or heard it on TikTok probably don't know any of that. But yeah, that's about Jesus.
I don't care if it hurts. I want to have control.
Okay, this reminds me of something. We're learning about fascism in history, and I have access to a presentation of the 9 characteristics of fascism, and I've gone through them, and I truly believe that 5 of them completely apply to America. I will read those 5. First up to bat is extreme nationalism. Okay, one of the bullet points there is flags are seen everywhere and constant use of patriotic mottos, slogans, symbols, and songs. 2, subordination to the state. It uses organized violence to suppress opposition. That really reminds me of the BLM protests. 4 is extreme militarism. 6, this one's my favorite. Disdain for the recognition of human rights. People look the other way or even approve of torture, summary executions, long incarcerations of prisoners, or assassinations. And lastly, 9, controlled mass media. I don't know, dude.
If you are a person that exists in the world and occasionally tries to explain to other people what trans and non-binary people are, you likely have heard something like this before. There is no such thing as gender. Men are men and women are women. Want to know what to say in that situation? May I introduce the brain in a jar approach, which is both helpful and also a trap. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions that might help you think about this differently? Start out, what is your gender? How do you identify? I am a proud biological male. Okay, great, cool. So, let's say that something happened and I needed to replace the bottom half of your body from the waist down with a robot body. And it would be super cool, fully functional. Every part of your consciousness in your body is still the same, except that from the waist down, you are a robot. Are you still a man? I don't see how this is relevant, but yes. Okay, great, cool. Now what if I also needed to replace your arms with robot arms? Yep, still a man. All right, let's say we needed to replace your whole body except for your head with the robot body. Would you still be that identity? Yep. Okay, cool. Now last question. Let's say that I had to replace your entire body except for your brain with a robot body. You are a brain in a jar. Your consciousness is still fully intact. You are walking through the world as you would, except that your whole body is a robot body. Are you still that identity? Of course, I'm a man and I will always be a man. Okay, so how do you know that you're that identity if you don't have those body parts that you told me were required for someone to be a certain identity? I don't know, I just know my brain is a man. I am a man. I don't know how to describe it. Actually, what you've just described is your gender, and everyone has that same internal sense of whatever their identity is. Even if it's different than what you assume they should have, everyone has that feeling deep down of, I know who I am. And that's how it's done.